Hey guys, thanks so much for clicking on this video. I just wanted to make sure that you knew who I am before you watched the video. I'm Brian, I'm a full-time freelance video editor, so I think I have some valuable things to say that you can learn from. Also, just in terms of the format of this video in particular, this is not exactly a tutorial. It's more of a creative process walkthrough. So there are going to be some tutorials on this channel, but this is not what this template is. This is more long-form content where I kind of reason out things that I'm doing as I go along. That said, I do go over some of the basic things as I work through this. But I'm just letting you know the yellow thumbnails on this channel are going to be more long form. I'm going to talk more about the philosophy of like why I do things. If you gain any value from it, go ahead and hit the like button too. I'm just trying to grow this channel here. I just started it. And if you have any questions, you can totally ask me on Twitter. All right, enjoy the video. Hey everybody, my name's Brian, and I've been having such a moment right now. This is the first time I've sat down to record something like this, and it's honestly more awkward than it seems. Anyway, I was just in the middle of starting a new YouTube channel named WeTutorialNow, and I realized I need to make an introduction for these videos if they're going to be any good. And I figured, why not just make a tutorial out of it? Like I said, this is a brand new channel, so it'd be really appreciated if you could give it a like and subscribe. All right, let's get into it. So here we are. I am using Sony Vegas Pro 14. That's not the latest installment or anything, but I was fortunate enough to get it for cheap from a Humble bundle. So that's what I'm working with today. This is the default settings that you're going to see as you open it up. And I'll give you a little bit of my workflow here too. So I guess the first thing that I would want to do when making my introduction, I've got a little bit of an idea in my head, but it always kind of shifts and morphs while I'm working. So I guess I'll see how it turns out. The story of this channel is that it's not the first YouTube channel I've had. In fact, I've got a couple of other ones. The main one is WeSkillNow, and I want to present that in my introduction. So I'm thinking that I'm going to start the screen off as orange with the words WeSkillNow on it, and then just kind of spin it and shift it into saying WeTutorialNow. That's going to give my viewers the knowledge that there's something else to be explored on the channel. So it's kind of like a little bit of free advertising. That's my idea right now. We'll see if I actually go with it in the future. So to make the thing that's in my vision right now, I'm going to just go over to media generators right here. One of the biggest things that I do is I go over to media generators, solid color, and honestly, you can pull any of these down. I'm just going to pull the orange one down, just because I know that's the color that I'm going to be working with. I never put my things on frame 0, just because I usually during the course of a project, I'm dragging things around, and it's really useful to be able to put things in front of your project. So working with the timeline is as easy as clicking and dragging on things, right? So I usually give myself like at least a minute or so of time. So I'll put it right over here. Okay, so what's my official orange? Well, I don't really know. I need to look that up real quick. I just checked the document that I had where I used it to design my WeSkillNow stickers, and I'm going to use that as my official orange. So the hex code for that one is FF9933, and as you look at this drop-down menu, there's no way to enter a hex code in. You only got the 4 options here. I'm going to go use Google to convert FF9933 over to RGB values or whatever. Okay, here we are. I'm seeing red at 1. I'm seeing green at 60. Sorry, 100, 60, and 20. So that'd be 0.2. There we go. There we are at our deep saffron. That's the way I like it. One of the things that I really like to keep in mind with my introductions is that I do everything in my power to keep them short, like 3 to 5 seconds long. So I'll find the frame here that's the 3-second mark, and you can kind of eyeball it with the little tick marks on the timeline here, but to get it, okay, I actually hit it perfectly there, but let's say that I didn't hit it perfectly. Let's say I hit it at 1 minute 3 seconds 0.03. You can actually use the arrow keys to go frame by frame through the project. I've made it to 1 minute 3 seconds. I'm going to hit S. That's going to split the track, and without clicking anything else, I'm just going to hit the delete key because the second half of what you split is automatically selected at that point. All right, so now I have a 3 second long clip here that I'm working with, and I'm just going to use that to try to make sure that I keep it that way. Now, what I'm picturing right now is a hard transition where it starts with WeTutorialNow, the text, and then it's going to, as it's flipping, just quickly shift over to the violet color that I've chosen for the WeTutorialNow channel. And I can already kind of think of how this is going to work in my mind. So I'm just going to pull a second color down. This one says magenta. You don't have to close the window as you interact with the timeline or anything. I'm just going to do the same split delete method. And I need to go figure out what the official RGB values of violet is now. So be right back again. Okay, I guess I found out that I'm not working with violet. I'm working with F700FF. So this one is 97 on red and 100 on blue. Boom. Real close to magenta. Okay, so here's how I'm going to run this one. I'm going to put the playhead on exactly 50% of this timeline. I did that by interacting with the arrow keys and looking at the timestamp on the left. I'm going to split both of them. I'm going to delete the first half of the magenta one and the second half of the orange one. I'm just going to throw them onto the same timeline at this point. Now, you're able to fade in. And it's so easy on Vegas. You're just able to grab one clip and drag it onto the other one. So I think that maybe like an 8-frame transition is enough, but I made sure that the exact middle of it was in the exact middle of the playhead. We might not of the clip. We may not end up keeping it that way because I probably want to have some extra time on the WeTutorialNow part rather than the WeSkillNow part because they're not of 50-50 value on this channel. But let's play that and see what it looks like. Okay. Sometimes that's stupid. Sometimes I like to select a region and turn on loop playback. I'm still such a pleb because I still use the actual button instead of hitting Control-Shift-L, which is apparently an option. But to just kind of get a feel of what you've made, you can just play it over and over again real quick. It's looking like 8 frames is not going to be enough for the fade, and it's looking like this purple's not really what I want. That doesn't look like my profile picture right now. No, not at all. I gotta get to the bottom of this. Okay, I tried to get it from memory. Actually, the correct color is 7F0FF, so I gotta go fix this, which is very easily done. You just click this button on here, the generated media button, and turns out my official color is just 50% red, 0 green, and 100 blue. Okay, there it is. That looks more like it. Okay, so as I'm looking at it here, I'm seeing 8 frames probably is enough, but it's probably not going to end up in the exact middle of this clip. But let's move on for now. Vegas always plays things in order, obviously, but I mean top layer first. So I'm going to take this video track and put it on top of the colors, because those are just for sure going to be the background. So I'm just going to click and drag this one on top. Now this is video track number 1, video track number 2. Now I want to put my text down, and I've been using Sony Vegas for a long time, since Vegas 07. They used to have different software for putting the text in, and I still prefer using that one. So normally to put text onto a video track, you would right click on the video track and click Insert Text Media right there. Okay? Now, I kind of hate this window, so I'm not going to do the bad thing, and I'm not going to adjust to the changing times. I am just going to use legacy text right here, and I'm going to put this on the timeline. I'm going to click on this other one and click delete, and instead of like zooming out and grabbing the end of the of the clip here and dragging it in, I'm just gonna, imagine I didn't zoom out. I'm just gonna hit, a quick S, delete, and I'll have a small little text window to work with here. Okay, so we're not putting it exactly where it's gonna be or anything, but I've just lined it up with the orange one for now. Okay, so we're gonna click on the generated media button here, and this is what we're gonna be working with. Okay, so what do we want it to say? We've established already that we want it to say WeTutorialNow, and I only put that in all lowercase because I know that my text turns all the letters uppercase anyway. Or sorry, that's my font that does that. So I think it'd be a good idea just for me to get these words on top of each other so we really know what we're working with. So I'm just going to insert another video track, put it underneath WeTutorialNow. I'm going to Control C on WeTutorialNow, put it right here, and Control V. And I want to create a new copy of the source media, and that's really important. If you create a reference to the original media, if you make any changes to the second one, the first one will also be affected. So you want to make a new copy. Let's click on the generated media button on that track as well, and we're going to make this one say WeTutorialNow. Now I'm going to hit Control A to highlight all of the text, and I used a font called Impact, and I put it in italics. So on this one, I actually am going to have to capitalize my letters. All right. So we've got them underneath each other, and I'm just going to hit the M button, which stands for mute on the WeTutorialNow for now, to see how WeTutorialNow is looking like. And I think that I want it to be a little bit bigger. You can do that in a couple of ways, but one way to for sure maintain the quality of the letters and make sure that they don't get fuzzy is to change the actual font size. So right now it's at 72. I'm going to make it 108. Oop, it went off screen. So I'm just going to make it 90 and see how it is. Good. That's exactly what I want, okay? It's going to be right there. Now I'm just going to look back and see how WeTutorialNow looks. The way that I'm going to do this is actually I'm going to hit the S button because that's going to show me a solo track. I don't care that the color disappeared because I'm just trying to see the size and shape of the text for now. So solo here. So what I'm seeing right now is they're about the same length, but WeTutorialNow is much taller. So what I'm starting to think is I am actually going to go back down. Do I jeopardize the size of the actual brand that the channel is on for the sake of the parent channel? That's a decision. WeTutorialNow. I just want them to be the same height, or at least close-ish. So what am I going to do about this? Well, I guess I'm just going to see what it looks like. It's really important to make these decisions right now, because if you wait until you animate, you can't really easily go back and make changes. So animations are always last. Okay, so one thing that I'm noticing is since WeTutorialNow is in italics, it's not exactly, it doesn't feel centered. It is centered, but since all the letters are curved that way, I think it'd be okay if we dragged it a little bit left. This is a tutorial all in itself, one which the YouTube search bar autofills, like how do you add text to the screen. So we've already added text to the screen, but here's how you actually manipulate it. And this is probably the thing that I do most as I'm editing. What I'd like to do is I'm just going to make sure that we're only looking at the WeTutorialNow text. I'm going to click on the Event Pan Crop button. That's always the second button. So there it is, Event Pan Crop. I'm going to make sure that my playhead is on this keyframe here. And you can move this keyframe around on the timeline all you want because it's the only keyframe on the timeline. If we had a second one on there, the story would change. We're going to click on the inside of this window here, and I'm going to use the arrow keys to move it just 1 pixel at a time in the direction that I want. So I want to move this right so that it moves left in the preview. So check this out. I'm going to click the right key button A few times, and that's probably it right there. So yeah, I probably hit the right arrow key like 4 times. And how's this one looking? I always struggle with my brand name because it's 3 words long. So I typically want the middle word to be centered and then the outer 2 words to be like equidistant apart. The problem is that we is 2 letters long and now is 3 letters long. It's always a challenge that I'm dealing with in my design work. But someday I'll settle on a design that I actually like. So I guess let's make this 72-point font and see how it works. You know, here's an interesting thing. Is one actually taller than the other? Okay, so, I can't actually tell which one of these is like more centered horizontally. So I've got a very stupid solution for that. So I'm just gonna go over to media generators, go to solid color, put another video track in here, just throw any color on here, and S to split, delete to get rid of it. And we're going to go to an event pan crop, and I'm going to change the Y center here to the boundary of the frame. So I changed the center to 180, which is the bottom border. So now you see we've got the screen perfectly cut in half. I'm going to lower the opacity on this so that we can tell what's really going on here, and we can see if these letters are really centered in the screen. And as I'm looking at the WeTutorialNow text, it looks like that is the one that's perfectly in the center. If we go over to WeTutorialNow, you see how the word is a little bit shifted underneath the center. So that's good to know. I'm going to go back to this key here, and I'm just going to hit the down arrow so that the text moves up in the preview until I think it is centered. And I'm just eyeballing this. So I'm kind of working off the capital letters, and I'm using the N because that's kind of has like a nice middle ground there. I might even go a little bit above the center just because the lowercase brings like most of the word, like the density of the word, like lower, so that putting a little bit more of that over the edge will make it appear centered. Just like we moved it a little bit left to make it look like it's centered when it really is even less centered now. Okay, we don't need this screen cut in half anymore, so we'll just get rid of that by hitting the delete key. Okay, we've got our words decently close together. I've got it. I've been having so much trouble thinking the We skill now stretches so far across the screen, and I kind of like the way that it utilizes the space. We are going to make our text bigger so that it fills even more space, okay? And to do that, I am going to do an event pan crop on WeTutorialNow. I'm going to select the key, and then I'm going to make sure that size about center is active. And I'm just going to pull any of these borders inwards so that WeTutorialNow fills a little bit more of the space. And so we can feel a little bit less guilty about making WeTutorialNow a 90-point font. Okay, and we can even go a little bit bigger. So sometimes I make the text bigger itself. You want to make the text as big as possible without letting it spill over the sides of the screen. That's going to make your letters have the most sharp edges. Just to give you an example of that, if we wanted to make WeTutorialNow big, but we just so happened to have the font at like a 10-point font, and we just use Event Pan to make it bigger, check this out. See how it's like pixelated? Maybe you can't. I'll go even further in. So yeah, it's super pixelated this way. But if we made it 90, which it is, and we zoom right on in, it is not pixely at all, even though we have it set to like not what it's going to look like when it's actually rendered. We have it on preview mode to make the program run a little bit more smoothly. Okay, so what were we doing here? We were making this just a little bit bigger. So zooming that in. Are these kind of the same size? They are kind of the same size. So we're going to do something stupid, and I think we're just going to have it spin around in a circle. By the way, you should definitely save your project a lot. In my experience, Vegas has crashed a decent number of times while I've been doing work. Not fun, but how could I forget the most important part? We need to go ahead and actually find a little jingle to use because that's going to determine our whole animation. This song actually came from the YouTube audio library, so if you're looking for something to utilize in your YouTube videos, you might consider checking them out. Now, I don't want to use the first part of the song. It actually like picks up a little bit, and I want that energy within the first 3 seconds of the video. So I can just tell by looking at the audio peaks here that this is the part where the bass drops. So what I'm going to do here, working with the audio, is I'm just going to put a rough split right there, select the part I want to delete and get rid of it. And I clearly am not going to use that much, but I am going to decide between using this first drop and the second drop. Sometimes I utilize the end of songs because, I mean, they wrap it up themselves and I don't have to like do an awkward fade. So let's see what the end of this song sounds like. Oh, maybe. Okay, screw it. We are going to work with the end. We're going to try to make that work. And that's going to mean that it's going to come in on like a hard beat. I am hearing it in my mind. I'm hearing the transition happening right there on that beat. And it kind of almost is there already. Looks like we are making not a 3-second intro. We're making a right where these waveforms end, and it's going to be a little bit over 4 seconds, and I'm okay with that. So one way to go about this is I am going to listen to it, and the moment that I said that I heard it is I'm going to hit the M key. All right. So I hit the M key, it put a little flag here. That's called a marker. I think that I wanted it to start at that marker. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select both of the solid colors, drag them so that the transition starts at the beginning, right when the marker was. And now I want to extend the orange so it starts at the beginning of the track. So just click the end of it and drag it over. And then bring the orange one over and drag that to right about where the audio ends. So now we even have what I was talking about earlier. We have less WeSkill than we're going to have WeTutorialNow, and that's what we want. All right. Now, I would rather work with this so that I have it the least number of things on the screen as possible so that I'm less distracted. So I'm just going to delete this first track up here. We don't need it anymore. We're also going to delete the marker because it's already served its purpose. I'm going to keep the 2 words on their own tracks. You could work with them on the same track, but I think it's going to be easier for me to work with them on separate tracks. I want to keep it lively. So I'm going to be making the decision right now whether or not I want to like do a slow like zoom toward the camera, keep it still, kind of like make it bump to the beat, or make it like shift sizes every beat. Right now, I think I already tipped my hat at like the first option, so I'm going to see what that looks like first. The more important part though is the transition here, where I mentioned I want to spin the texts and have them turn into the other one. Let's just see how it looks if all we do is fade in and out the 2 tracks. So you can make a fade out just by grabbing the top corner of the track and dragging it to wherever you want. Now, as I watch that right there, I'm realizing, wait, I don't want them to fade out at the exact same time as the color, because all this looks like right now is just 2 different pictures fading from one to the other. See that? See that? We don't want that. I'm going to move these a frame inward, and I'm going to make the fade out 1 frame even less than that. Okay, so it doesn't look like much now, but we're going to add some spinning animation. I think the way to make this look The most natural would be not to start the spin like right when you're ready to transition, but start the spinning a little bit sooner. So let's go like 6 frames away from like when it's time to change. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hit the S key. Go to the end of the other track. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sweet. Okay, so now we're going to get into the event pan and crop. So let's check this out. So this timeline down here is very important. This is where we're going to be keyframing what we want the words to do. I think I'm just going to get a little bit experimental here. I started it like when I want it to start moving. So I'm going to keep that in mind. I think that I really only want it to spin, once. Maybe even only get like upside down by the time it turns into WeTutorialNow. So by the time it comes back the full 360, it's a new word. Yeah, okay. So this is going to be decently easy. I'm going to move the key a little bit back because otherwise you're not going to be able to see it on the screen, and I want to make sure that I'm spinning in the right direction. So I want it to spin clockwise. So I'm going to spin the circle counterclockwise. So just go straight up, but you might not want to do this manually. You can adjust the angle automatically with more accurate numbers. So I went over to angle and I typed -180. So now I'm going to move this key back, but I don't want to have just a boring one key to the next key animation, because this is what this looks like. See that? You can add a little bit of life by starting it with like a little bit of bounce beforehand and then really spinning faster. We might not end up doing that for this one because we're not working with too many frames. One thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to highlight both of the keyframes and switch it to a smooth animation. Now, it's not going to make a difference yet, but when we add some more keyframes, it will make a difference. So every single keyframe is automatically divided to get to the goal that it wants to get to. So we're going to make it so that it speeds up as it goes. So we're going to go like 4 frames forward, so like 1, 2, 3, 4, and make it so that it hasn't spun very far yet. And we might do some more precise math. So let's just make that -20, okay? Let's see how that looks. It's got a little bit more life to it, and I think for this tutorial, I'm just going to leave it there. So now we just have to match it with WeTutorialNow. Okay, I figured out the problem. I've been having so much trouble with this, and I really shouldn't have been. I wasn't giving myself as much time for it to spin back into place as I gave it to start spinning. So this is going to be a little bit convoluted, but we'll break things down in simpler tutorials later on. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this keyframe, and this is the part where it accelerates. So I'm going to split it right there. It's not going to affect the animation at all. And I want to make sure that I'm giving myself the same length of time. So I'm going to make another video track and just copy and paste it at the end of this one. And you see, I need this much more time to compensate. So now I get to drag this key all the way to the end. Now I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, and start that at 20. And that's going to have a similar end speed to the startup speed. So hopefully it just like works already. There we go. There we go. 1, 2. Yeah. Yeah. Now, one thing that's kind of fun to do is to put a little bit of blur on the track. I like to use Gaussian blur for that. Wait a minute, how do you pronounce that?
Gaussian.
Fine. Okay, I've said Gaussian my whole life, so I'm stupid. Gaussian blur. And I'm not going to go crazy with it. I'll just put a light blur on both of them. But I don't want it to just like hard cut blur right away. So what do you do with that? You go into Event Effects. You click in Vegas 14. There's these little clocks. It's kind of stupid. But you have to work with these timelines, and it works the same way that the other timelines work, but we're just gonna go like, I don't know, three frames in and put the full effect on at 3 frames, and then we're gonna go back to the original part of the track. And I'm not gonna put a keyframe down because as soon as I change these variables, a keyframe will go down. So put 0 on both of those components again, and that's going to slowly blur as it goes in, and we have to do the same thing for the next one. One, two, three. Move the original over, go back, 0 and 0. All right, so I'm not super impressed with myself, but I guess this is what the transition is going to look like. Oh, I know what I should have done, and I think I will do it. I don't like the look of it spinning twice, so I'm just going to make it so that when WeTutorialNow comes in, it starts upside down and then swings forward. Oh, I'm dumb. Okay, I kind of wondered if this was going to happen. Like, I start recording, then I'm not going to be able to make something that I like the look of, but we're going to go with it for now. I think that I would like it if my other social medias would fly into the screen as well, like by the time it transitioned. Fortunately for me, I just made the channel's banner as well, so I think I'm just going to pull the image that I made and pull the social media links from there and make that just fade in as the word transitions. Okay, sweet. I just made the image, so I'm just going to go grab it here real quick. And I did a file import, so here it is in the project media. I'm just going to click and drag it down to the screen. It's probably going to last for the same amount as the rest of the screen is, but there it is. It has appeared. I'm noticing that the style of text that I've used is like outline, and there's like a little bit of a shadow on it as well. So I think I'm going to do the same thing with my WeTutorialNow font. So to do that, I'm just going to go over to the generated media button, go to properties. Nope. Go to effects. I knew that. And click the activate the draw outline. You want that outline to be black. I don't want any feather on the outline. That's going to make the image blurred. And let's just see what 0.2 looks like. We might need to make this a little bit better looking so that we can really tell what's going on. If we turn it to best, we can kind of tell what the render is going to look like. It looks like that's a little bit thick. So 0.1? Sure. What does the shadow look like? We're going to keep the shadow on actually for this one. And we're going to put a little bit more distance on this shadow. So what does 0.1 look like on this? It looks like way too much. What does 0.6 look like? You can see there's just a bunch of trial and error. Ooh, I mean 0.06. Ooh. Yeah, I think that looks a little bit more like what this extra image looks like. So I'm just going to position it down below. I want to keep the file centered. So I'm just going to go over here to, I'm going to toggle this so that I can only move this in the Y direction. And if I drag it left and right, it's not going to move left and right. But I want it to appear just underneath the words, maybe make it a little bit bigger. And drag it here. I don't actually want it to appear during the WeSkillNow section. So I'm going to drag this key over here so I can see what it actually is going to look like underneath WeTutorialNow. And I want it to be a little bit lower than that. I want to make sure the Ask Me a Question is legible. So, and it's probably going to look fine no matter how big it is. So let's just put it right there. Okay, I want it to fade in at the same time as WeTutorialNow. So I don't want it to fade in at the same time because WeTutorialNow needs a little bit of time to spin in. I don't want it to start fading in immediately as WeTutorialNow settles. So I'm just going to give it like 3 frames, and then I think I'll fade it in for like 6. So what does that look like? Yeah. All right, so I'm noticing that the plain white text transitioning into a text that is outlined and shadowed is not looking so good. So I'm just going to do the same effect on WeSkillNow. You know, not the best looking intro. I think we'll make it look just a little bit better by not making this a solid purple. We're going to put a little bit of a shadow on it. I can choose between a gradient shadow and just like a hard cut shadow. I usually go for hard cut, maybe not on this video. So let's insert a video track because I want to put another layer on top of this purple here. And the way that I'm going to go about this is I'm going to cut a hole in this top one so that you can see underneath here. And I'm just already going to make the bottom one like a little bit darker purple so that it has something to fade into. Okay, it's going to be a little bit subtle. So right now the preview is still just bright purple because I haven't cut the hole yet. The hole comes from Video Effects, and there's a video effect called Cookie Cutter. I'm going to just take the front, I'm just going to take the default one, drag it onto here, puts a circle perfectly in the middle. I don't want that. So I'm going to first of all move the center like to the top left so that it's a little bit more tasteful. And we're going to throw a whole bunch of feather on it. Yeah. Okay, so now it's kind of so subtle that you don't really notice it. So I think I want to make the purple a little bit darker. Now maybe the feather can be a little bit more intense. Seems like circle gets to a point where it doesn't really circle anymore. So I'm going to go to oval. I think I can work with that just a little bit more. Change the size of the actual shape. And I don't know, the video effect is a little wonky, okay? But you just kind of have to work with it. All right, well, I think it's just a little bit better than the plain solid purple. But we're going to leave the solid orange as it is because that's just kind of how the branding is. Just make sure that the second track fades in at the same rate. Honestly, I'm not sure what else to add to this intro. I think it's ready to be used. And I can already just kind of tell I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, so I'm looking at it right now and I'm not really like seeing like the pop that I really want. So we'll use it for now, but I for sure will come back to it again and like rework it sometime. Maybe when the channel grows. So that's where you come in. If you found any value from this video, make sure to give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Say something in the comments. If there's a Sony Vegas question that you have or something that you're wondering about just generally design-wise, go ahead and @ me on Twitter. Even if this video is like old at this point, I'll be there, okay? I'll be able to answer your question and maybe I'll make it into a tutorial itself. Thanks so much for watching the video. I'm excited to get going on this new channel here. I'm gonna have all the things that I used to make this video possible down in the description in case you're looking to professionalize your own home studio or whatnot. I've got colored lights behind me and whatnot. I've got this mic sitting here. I've got some studio lights that are pretty sick. But I guess I'm just kind of excited about that. I'm going to be making some more tutorials, so check those out too. Thanks for watching.